Hey guys, so I wanted to do a video talking about how they handled the Daima team, how they built it up from essentially nothing into what it is right now. At this point, you guys should know that the Daima tag is most definitely the top dog in the game right now. I would say there are a lot of teams that are competitive with it, but there are no teams that are really on the same level of Daima, right? There's Future, which is competitive. There's Hybrids, which are competitive. Vegeta Clan you could probably throw in there too. Movies is decent, but none of them quite reach the same level of Daima. And this is a team that you take a look a month ago, right before the Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta banner, and this team didn't exist. There was no Daima team. We had the Super Saiyan Goku and Tamagami 3 release back during Legends Fest, part 2 of Legends Fest, and since then we just did not get any Daima releases. And so they designated March as the month for Daima. And what they essentially did is they built the team very rapidly, right when Daima started airing, right? We got the free-to-play / banner character, the Green Goku. We got the Blue Goku Mini and the Glorio. This Goku actually is pretty solid and proud, but in standard I definitely wouldn't run him. Glorio just got his unique equip, and then for part 2 we got summonable characters, the first summonable Daima characters. Well, technically I guess, well, first premium characters, not summonable, but first premium characters for Daima. With an LF character and then a 1% sparking next to him, the red Super Saiyan Mini Goku, who was very good. Still pretty good right now. But the team, you know, that was 3 months before we got the rest of the team fleshed out. So they had like a baseline of the team here, and then they just built the rest of it out. And in 2 banners, we went from basically the Daima team not existing at all to the Daima team just being completely dominant over the rest of the game. So they have definitely shown that they have the ability to sort of take a tag that doesn't even exist and make it very competitive, if not just straight up the best team in the span of just 1 month, aka 2 banners. That is what we should be getting for the DB tag right here, right? We had the April Fool's Cyborg Tao come out at the beginning of the month, a free-to-play character, actually a pretty decent free-to-play character, I would say. And then we just got the Zenkai for the Green Wasteland Bandit Yamcha, who wouldn't really say is too good. He does a lot of damage, but besides that, he's kind of just standard basic character. Gonna be a very good bench character though, for sure. But DB, I would argue right now, is kind of in the same spot that Daima was in going into March. You could even argue that the DB team is worse than the Daima team was going into March, because at least with the Daima team, they had these characters, right? Tamagami number 3 is still very good even right now, and then you could definitely, this Super Saiyan Goku is still pretty, so I wouldn't say he's like as crazy as he was when he first dropped, but he's still pretty damn good. Gloria with his unique equipment is good, but like these 2 characters, at least being in the game and existing going into March, we at least had some options. With DB, what are we working with here? We have Tao, which they just gave us, who's solid. I'm not using Green Yamcha on it. Like, if Green Yamcha is a character that's making like the core DB team at the end of this month, they failed. That would be a failure. And that is, I guess, something that I want to just focus in on when talking about the way that they've handled the Daima team, is the DB team is in even a worse spot, I would argue, than the Daima team was going into March. So they built this team up from nothing. They're going to have to do the exact same thing, and then even a little bit more for the DB team. The only thing you could say about this tag is they definitely have access to some crazy equips. Daima equips are solid, but the Daima team, I feel like I've pulled this equipment up so many times, but I feel like it's just better to show what I'm talking about as I describe it. Daima does not have this. This thing is just monstrous. This was an equip that they emergency dropped during the 2023 DB celebration, because they realized after the full month of dropping DB characters that the team was bad. They're like, oh, actually, the team sucks. So what they did was they basically emergency dropped this ridiculous equip, and you can use one of these on each of your DB characters, of course, and then you get base strike attack and strike and blast attack, and then strike and blast defense per party member using this equipment. So if you have a full team of characters using this equip, you're going to get 60% to base defenses, 48% to base offenses, 15% health, 10% special move damage, 20% ultimate damage. That's actually just, there's nothing touching this, right? I always go crazy about this. Hold on, let me see if I can pull this up. I always go crazy about, if I can find it here. Where's the you guys know, before I even say this right here, you guys know I go crazy for this because this, let's be real, this should not exist. This is a ridiculously crazy equip. This is like double the potency of this or something. It's like insane, right? You're only getting 30% to defenses. This is giving 60, and then you're getting 25% to offenses. This is giving 48, and then you're getting the extra special move ultimate damage. Like, yeah, this is this. First of all, this shouldn't exist, but this is like almost double as good as that. So they have access, the DB tag has access to some crazy equips. We just got the Awakened equip for like the pure strike defense per DB battle members. Like, they have access to some really good equipment, but if the characters just aren't pulling their own weight at the end of this DB celebration, then it's not going to matter. Like, we could have the best equipment in the game by far on this tag. It's all going to come down to what the characters are actually bringing to the table. So I want to take a look and just go through some of the releases for the Daima tag here, because we should expect the same treatment for DB. I would say we have one character we can directly compare with Daima here. I mean, I don't know if I'd really call it a super fair comparison, but this green Goku who just got a Zenkai Awakening, we have our first Zenkai for the DB team, and it's this green Yamcha. I mean, are we seriously even considering this green Yamcha to be in the same planetary atmosphere as the Zenkai Green Goku? It's not even a discussion. This Yamcha, if we're gonna actually compare this Yamcha to this Kid Goku, or I guess Mini Goku, this Goku is it's like a 3-year gap in terms of what their kits look like and how well they perform. Yamcha's damage, again, I'll never say Yamcha's damage is bad. Yamcha's damage is actually very good, but this Goku's damage is better, I think. This Goku's defense is better. He's supporting. He's getting Dragon Ball super quickly. He's got death buffs. He's got disrupts. Like, it's not even remotely close. Now, I don't know if I'd call that a fair comparison because this Goku kind of just released. It came out in October of 2024. So he's like 6 months old. But at the end of the day, when you make a Zenkai character, you have the option and you have the freedom and leeway as the development team to make the characters just basically whatever you want. Right, so they could have made Yamcha as good as this green Mini Goku, and I don't really understand why they didn't. Right, DB needs just as much help as Daima needed when Daima was in the dumps, right? So I don't really know, right? It doesn't make any sense. They should have just made this Yamcha like a massive, insane character, I think, but they did not. So we will wait and see what they want to do for the 2 premium banners. Once again, I'll just reiterate, I mentioned this in, I think, a few previous videos, but the 16th, Wednesday, is when we should be able to get our first, yeah, that's when the first banner will drop. Well, we should get the reveal on the 15th, which is Tuesday, and then the 16th, JST, is when the banner will drop. And then the second release will be on the 30th, which is the last day of April, which should be the final banner before the anniversary next month. But just taking a look at the Daima team here, well, let's just go through what we received in March. So there's kind of two sides to this. I think when we talk about the design of the Daima characters, I think there are some examples of really well-designed characters, and I think there's some examples of characters that are certainly not very well-designed. There's like very polarizing design philosophies here. The first 2 characters I'm going to talk about are Vegeta and Goku. I'm not going to talk really much about the rest of these guys. I think Tamagami number 3 is actually really well designed. This Goku is pretty well designed. I wouldn't really say he's... I've seen some people pop up and say this character is toxic. I don't know if I'd go that far. He's just a very fluidly designed character, right? You want to fill the gauge up, get the green becomes the blue dumps the gauge, locks the opponent in. It's a very intuitive design this Goku has. I guess the only toxic thing you could sort of bring up with him is the ease at which he gets Dragon Balls, but that's kind of what the theme of this team was back during Legends Fest, right? This Goku gets Dragon Balls, Tamagami number 3 generates Dragon Balls, this Blue Goku, this Mini Goku generates Dragon Balls, and then this Goku gets buffs depending on like how many Dragon Balls you have, and whenever you get a Dragon Ball, he gets like covered and things like that. So the whole team was just built around you getting Dragon Balls. But when we take a look at some of these units, let's pull up, so Super Saiyan, let's close some of these out here. So Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta and Super Saiyan 4 Goku, I don't really think there's anything inherently too toxic about Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Now, just to mention, everybody's going to have their own definition of what being toxic is. My general definition of toxicity in this game is when you have a mechanic that is mostly tied to RNG that has a very significant outcome on the match. Like it very significantly affects the outcome of the fight, and it's mostly based around RNG. I don't really think a lot of what Vegeta is doing is tied to RNG and toxic in any way. In fact, when we take a look at all 4 of these characters here, I would say of the March releases for Daima, I don't think Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta really is toxic at all. He's not really doing anything that's just like really outlandish or just annoying to fight against. He's just a very solid character. He's a very offensively powerful unit, one of the more offensively strong characters we've seen in a long time. And he, you know, they did a good job with balancing him because they sacrificed a lot of his defensive abilities, which they could have easily given him like endurance, but they did not. He has very short cover null. He does have like buff cancellation and things like that, which they honestly didn't even really need to give him, I don't think, but he's got some strong tools. But I don't think anything about this character is inherently what I would classify as being toxic. This character, I would also say, is not very toxic, but I think if you're directly comparing this Goku to Vegeta, this Goku definitely has quite a few bit more toxic traits. The number one thing that I would talk about, actually, when it comes to toxicity is, I don't know if I could find this here. I mean, I guess we could kind of throw this in here where it's like, oh, the last man standing. The way that his last man standing ability is structured is it's essentially set up to guarantee him a kill. When I say guarantee him a kill, I don't actually mean like he's 100% going to get a kill every time, but it's pretty close to 100%. He's locking you in, he's removing your vanish gauge, and he's drawing an ultimate. I mean, that's just like spoon feeding you and hand feeding you the situation that you want this Goku to be in. Of course, there are different ways you can get around it. You can set up this Goku being last man standing if you're the opponent. Let's say Majin Ku gets the last kill on your team, and now the enemy is just left with Goku. If you have a green card in your hand with Majin Ku because you knew that was going to happen, you set that up in advance, maybe you popped his main to draw green, you could then use the green to restore your vanish, and then you at least have a fighting chance against this guy. But this is, again, I don't know if I'd really call this toxic because it's not really RNG. It's more so just that's what he's doing. But I could definitely see people getting annoyed at this because it just feels very cheap, I guess is the best way to describe it. It's not really toxic, it's just cheap. And I think there's actually a differentiation we can make between mechanics that are cheap and mechanics that are toxic, because this, again, I mostly associate toxicity with mechanics that are mostly RNG based. Okay. This is what I would consider to be probably the most toxic thing about this Goku, actually, is this. I have done a lot of fights this season. I'm currently ranked number 2 overall in the world. I've been doing a lot of Proud. I'm just trying to farm up Proud coins. It feels a little bit mysterious to me that they all of a sudden just dropped the Proud coins into the game and didn't even really like make a big deal out of it. I'm kind of thinking at some point they're gonna add stuff to that shop, and just in case, I don't really know if I'd even put a big likelihood on that, but just in case, I do want to be ready if they do decide to do that. So I'm farming a lot of Proud coins. I have a lot of experience fighting as the Daima team, and then of course fighting against the Daima team, because the Daima team is the most popular team, the most abundant team by far. It's like 9 out of 10 matches are against Daima. So I fought a lot of Super Saiyan 4 Gokus this season, and this is the mechanic that is just, it's just very, very annoying. And the reason why I would consider this to be toxic is because you don't know which slot in your hand is going to be sealed. And there have been multiple instances where I need one more Dragon Ball to get my rush, then I can rush, then it's going to change the outcome of the fight. But the last Dragon Ball, the card that has the last Dragon Ball on it, gets sealed. And if you know how this Goku's seal works, he seals one enemy card slot randomly up to 1 slot simultaneously. And what that means is every time when hit with an enemy's arts attack, the seal will refresh. So it's not only the fact that it's sealed for 10 counts, it's the fact that maybe it's sealed for 10 counts, and because the team is so fast to switch in and out of Goku, you can swap out a Goku, swap back into Goku in like 5 counts. Goku can swap back in before the seal runs out. So that is the most toxic thing about this character, I think. And it's essentially what this mechanic is doing is, for all intents and purposes, this is lowering the capacity of your hand from 4 slots to 3 slots, really. And I would classify that as toxic, again, not only just because it's a cheap mechanic, but also because it is heavily tied to RNG, because it's completely random which slot, right? It literally says up to 1 slot simultaneously randomly. So It is completely random. It could seal the most important card in your hand. What if it seals your blue card that you need to use with your Super Saiyan 4 Goku to restore your Vanish, and you just can't do that now? What if it seals your green card when you're using Majin and you can't restore your Vanish with this green card, and you're locked in with Goku, and then you can't, get out of the way of Goku's ultimate, and you just get one shot and you lose because of it? It's happened hundreds and hundreds of times. This mechanic, I think, is probably the most toxic aspect of the unit. There are definitely a lot of other annoying things about this character. The fact that he is canceling enemy buff effects when he's on standby is incredibly powerful against cover null. But there, I don't think inherently there really is anything Omega toxic about him. Really, I don't even know if I'd call this Omega toxic, but this is just, there's no way around it. This is a toxic mechanic. But this Goku overall, again, I don't think he is inherently a super toxic character. He's just very strong. And I think they did a good job with designing this guy, because this character is literally filling like the 4 or 5 gaps in the Daima team that the team had before his banner dropped. Right? We had Vegeta drop, we had Majin, we had Tamagami, we had Super Saiyan Goku. So we had like a decent core of the Daima team. But there were easily identifiable gaps in the team that this Goku releasing really did fix. Now, here's where the problem comes in. We have Majin and Majin. Now, I think the reason why, and I mean, do you guys really need me to go through why these characters are toxic? It's mostly just due to a lot of the, again, RNG-based mechanics that they're bringing to the table. Mostly paralysis, also fainting. Both, well, I guess not both, but this Majin, especially Majin. I mean, if you're going to compare like which of these is more toxic, it's easily going to be this character, because not only is he paralyzing, he's paralyzing in multiple ways, and he's fainting, and he's locking in with his green card. This character's green card is actually, I think, underrated. I don't really see many people talking about this. Look at this, getting Vanish back. He is locking the enemy in, and then he's reducing your ki by 40. Like, that's, I don't really know if I'd call this is not toxic. Locking is always toxic no matter what, because you never know what's going to be applied to you when the enemy has a green. But this is a crazy green card. But it's the fact that he has the paralysis here on the strike card. It's literally tied to his strike card effect. 30% is not small. And then he's got this 20% chance to paralyze if he gets hit and the enemy has 50% or more health. I always view paralysis as a very toxic mechanic, and I think most people probably do view it as a toxic mechanic. Again, it does fit my description of what classifies as toxicity, in the fact that it is completely random. Like, you could be paralyzed and you could not get paralyzed a single time. Like, you could have the abnormal condition paralysis applied to your character, but it might not activate and actually prevent you from performing an action until the abnormal condition goes away. It's possible. But you, on the other hand, could also be afflicted by paralysis, and it could activate 7 times back to back to back to back to back to back to back, right? So that is what makes it a toxic mechanic. And then faint on top of that, right? This character has not just one, multiple ways to faint in the blue card here, right? This is the first way he has to faint. Actually, is it not tied to this? His ultimate, I know, has, where is it? Oh no, I think it's actually in his, I think it's in his kit here. Yeah, I thought it's not actually tied to the blue and ultimate cards. Where is it? Here we go. Yeah, 20% chance to faint with a blue card, and then 30% chance to faint with an ultimate card. So, when you get the faint, I mean, again, it's activates once, so you can only get the faint once with each of these, but again, it is just RNG. RNG to stun the opponent for like 5 counts. Does that sound decent? I mean, yeah, it's pretty annoying, right? So it's not just the paralysis, it's not just the faint, but it's the fact that he's multiple ways of getting both of them off at the same time. It's the fact that he is comboing with like this character. Like, imagine Majin switches in, he destroys your whole hand, reduces your ki, all at the same time that this Goku is sealing 1 card slot, so he's removing that. And then you have like Tamagami switching in, he's sealing your green cards, he's destroying your green cards. This character also has things like paralysis when he I don't remember exactly where this is written, but when his endurance is activated, he applies paralysis to the entire enemy team. Here we go. The falling effects occur when owner health reaches 0. So he's got this, and then he's got 100% chance to paralyze the entire enemy team, which I sometimes just sack this character off just to get this off because it's just so ridiculous. It's Hero Hercule. There's a reason people still use Hero Hercule. It's because of paralysis, right? He also locks in, which is also crazy. But I mean, this might be one of the most powerful lines of text in this game in terms of character abilities. 100% chance to inflict all enemies with paralyze. That's like, this should never be a line on a character, right? So they have this, and then the other thing with this character, which actually Majin Ku does not have this, is he has Obscure, which, where is it? Yeah, here we go. So the following effects occur based on the number of times this character is hit by enemy arts attacks while on the battlefield. 2 times obscures all enemy cards for 5 counts. So again, this fits my definition of what being toxic means, because it literally creates just RNG in you being able to do anything, right? If your hand's obscured, you have no clue what the hell is going on. So you being able to consistently get this obscure off with him is really insane. And then also the paralysis. Just a lot of nonsense between both of the Majin Ku and Majin Du units. I think the reason why we're seeing this with these characters is because they don't have other teams besides Daima. And not only do they not have other teams besides Daima, but they aren't even like, I don't know if I want to call it non-viable for leader slot for other teams, because they're probably still so good enough. They're probably so good that you could probably just throw them on other teams in leader anyway, but they are getting specific buffs and bringing mechanics to the table and activating different abilities if you have other Daima battle members on the team with them. So there are very specific characters that really don't have a lot of flexibility in the team building you can have with them, but that's, I think, maybe a reason why they kind of went above and beyond with how good they made these guys, especially Majin Ku, right? This guy is like 50% support for Daima. Like, it's just, this guy is actually ridiculous. So yeah, I don't think I'm a big fan of the way they designed them. I'm not a fan of RNG mechanics. I don't think, if you went up to like 100 people, if you surveyed 100 Dragon Ball Legends players and you asked them, do you enjoy paralysis and feint and obscure? I think like 80% of them at least would say no. But that's the way that they design these characters. And I think, to be honest, it is a pretty lazy way of doing this, right? So they went into this with one assignment, right? March 1st is the beginning of the month of Dragon Ball Daima. They went into March with the assignment where they needed to flesh this team out and get this team to be tip-top shape, competitive, whatever you want to call it, up to par by the end of March. That was their goal, and that was the objective of the month of March with this Daima team. And how did they go about accomplishing that? Well, they gave us pretty good LF characters. Again, I don't think there's anything overly toxic about either Vegeta or Goku, but when it comes to Ku and Du, to me, it just almost feels lazy, where they said, okay, we can't think of anything creative to do for both Majin Du and Majin Ku, so let's just give them these like absurdly toxic mechanics because we'd rather just focus on other things. It almost feels like this was kind of like a side project, like they're working on the 7th anniversary characters, they're working on the massive updates coming out in May and during the anniversary, and they're like, oh yeah, we also have to design Majin Ku and Majin Du. Just give him paralysis, I'll just give him feint, I'll just give him obscure. Like that honestly feels like probably how they handled the design of these characters, because it just doesn't feel like a very well thought out design process for these characters. So I think when it comes to the DB team, when we see the new characters drop for DB, I'm actually kind of hoping that this upcoming banner next week for the LF unit, which should be it's possible they could drop an Ultra first, but like, remember they did that for Janemba? Ultra Janemba dropped, and then we got Pycon at the end of the month. It's possible they do that, but I think for whatever LF banner we get this month, I think there needs to be more than 2 characters, right? There should be an LF, and then maybe structure it similarly to like the LF Tree of Might Goku banner, where they had Goku, but then they had like 2 or 3. Well, for that one it was 3, right? They had Almond, Days, Raisin, and Lakase, and then that was it, right? No, there was more. There was one more. I'm forgetting one. And Cacao. Yeah, there was actually 4 others. I don't know if they're gonna give us 4 because the anniversary is coming up soon, but it would really, really, really help this team out a lot if they just gave us two, right? Give us the LF character and then give us two 1% sparkings. And that is actually, to be fair, what they did with this Path to Power Kid Goku. Path to Power Kid Goku dropped as the LF, and then on his banner with him, they gave us Android 8 and then Master Roshi, because they recognized that this tag is just completely dead and they needed to do something to help it. So I'm kind of hoping they just do the same thing they did with this Path to Power Kid Goku. Unfortunately, this Android 8 and Roshi, I mean, Android 8 wasn't bad, but like, dude, Roshi was horrible. They just need to make these characters better, right? I mean, and they recognized that too when they gave us the equipment at the end of the celebration, but we need characters for this team in numbers, right? They can't give us one LF, one Sparking, and one Ultra. It's not going to work. It's just not going to, unless they make all three units like insanely busted, and it's just like a 3-man lineup, which you're going to be running every single time. It's not going to work. And again, I will mention this. I think the LF character that we're going to get probably is not going to be mega toxic. They have stated that their new design philosophy moving forward is not to have characters have like every single mechanic in the game. So hopefully they kind of make them streamlined and interesting in that way. But the 1% sparkings, I do want them to make them very good, but just, you know, spare us the paralysis, spare us the obscure, spare us the feints. No like sealing. Like, can we just get like a good character that doesn't rely on these annoying mechanics? That's something else that I could honestly do a whole video on by itself, but I've talked about this for years at this point. There is a difference between a character being good, or I guess there's a difference between them designing characters to be good and them designing characters to be fun, right? There could be a character that is very, very good, but they're also very, very annoying and unfun to fight. That's what I would classify Majin Buu and Majin Ku as. They're both very good units, but they are not fun to fight against. There are characters that are bad, and they're not fun to fight against, right? Hero Hercule is bad, but he's also like one of the least fun characters in the game to fight against. Why is that? Because he has the RNG toxic mechanics in his kit. So there are just certain mechanics where like we just don't need to see rehashes of those. And I honestly think like Majin Vegeta falls in that bucket as well too. And that's why people just didn't enjoy fighting against him. It's just, there are fun mechanics in the game. Like, I don't really have a major issue fighting against like Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta or Super Saiyan 4 Goku because there's not a lot of toxic RNG abilities with them. It's when you throw in Ku and Do into the mix as well, when you have all these, you know, really annoying toxic RNG based abilities that could straight up lose you the match in a split second if just, you know, your coin rolls on tails instead of heads. Like, you call heads, oh, it's tails. You get paralyzed, you get fainted. The last Dragon Ball is sealed in your hand. Like, those mechanics just aren't fun. And I think especially when it comes to limiting options, when you're talking about the Daima team as a whole team, this is probably the most limiting team I've ever seen in terms of when you look at every single action that you have available to you at any given point in the fight. I can switch, I can sidestep, I can go for a tackle, I can use a rush, I can tap attack, I can strike, I can, you know, there's like actually when you look at any point in a fight, there's like 8 to 12 different actions you could take at any point. But when you're fighting the Daima team is doing so much that it's actively removing like half of the actions you have to take in a fight. So it just makes the fight more boring, in my opinion. It removes a lot of the thought process that goes into the fight because it just, there's not as many options that are available to you at any given point during the fight because of how many things are being sealed. Your sub counts are being increased. You're afflicted with paralysis, so you can't even move your character. Your Dragon Balls are destroyed. Your Dragon Balls are sealed. Your Rising Rush is sealed. Your main ability is sealed. Like, there's just a lot of that. So to me, that is not a way to cultivate a very fun environment in this game. So when we're looking at the DB tag, I'm just hoping that they're somehow able to figure out a way to make good characters, but make good characters where they're actually not like super hellishly annoying to fight against. Which I think they actually did achieve with Goku and Vegeta. Again, it's more so just down to the Majin Ku and Do duo here. But you guys can let me know what you think about my thoughts on how they've handled the Daima team so far. I wouldn't really give this like a bad score because the characters that really mattered, like the LF units, are really well done. But I feel like, yeah, this definitely is like a blemish on how they handle the Daima team, Majin Ku and Majin Do. Honestly, it's more so Majin Ku because I think people definitely people definitely hate fighting Ku more than do at this point. Just really annoying to fight against. Like, it was cool when he first dropped, like the first 2 days, but it got old really fast. And that's also something else we can kind of touch on as well. Like, whenever you have these toxic mechanics like this, it gets very old very quickly. Like, people are excited, oh, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta's out, oh, Super Saiyan 4 Goku is out, but then, you know, when you have these toxic mechanics, like, it's like the honeymoon phase is like 2 days and then you're bored because of these annoying mechanics. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about the Daima team, the way they've handled it, and then let me know what your expectations are for the DB tag moving into April here as we get closer to the first major premium release for this team. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one.